Step through the shadowed corridors of ancient Jerusalem, where the darkness of power and conspiracy intertwine in the shocking historical tale of Caiaphas. But this is not the story of a religious or political figure, but rather a bloody tragedy of betrayal, leading to the most agonizing death in human history. Amid the vague circumstances of this incident, a crucial question was raised. What drove Caiaphas, a spiritual leader, to become the mastermind behind the plot to harm Jesus Christ? What horrifying secrets lie hidden behind this shocking crime? Prepare to embark on a journey of spine-chilling and haunting discovery, where every small detail will make your hair stand on end. Caiaphas stands out in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John as the central figure in the events leading to the crucifixion of Jesus. Imagine a mysterious Caiaphas, seated in the council of public trial before the required 71 members were present, a mandatory condition for holding official court sessions. Why did you violate tradition by arbitrarily holding a secret trial right in your own prophet's house? In a baffling move, why did he incite the angry crowd to attack Jesus? It seems that reason and justice are utterly absent. Josephine Caiaphas, also known as Caiaphas, was the high priest of the Judeans during the reign of the great emperor. He held this esteemed position during the pivotal historical period, coinciding with the time when Jesus Christ preached his teachings. He was born around 14 BC and died around 46 AD. Caiaphas has left an indelible mark on history, recorded in the New Testament and the works of the renowned historian Josephus. According to Josephus, Caiaphas was appointed high priest in 18 AD by the Roman governor Valerius Gratus, after Simon ben Celis was removed from office. This demonstrates Lama's significant influence in selecting leaders for the Jude religion. Caiaphas held this position for nearly 20 years, an astonishingly long tenure, demonstrating exceptional skill in balancing the religious and political authority of the Lama. The core issue is, what motivated Caiaphas and the religious leaders to be determined to eliminate Jesus? To understand this clearly, it is essential to remember that Jesus' mission on earth was foretold long ago. He was destined to sacrifice his own life to atone for humanity's sins. However, from Caiaphas' perspective, Jesus was a serious threat to both the religious power structure and the fragile political system, much like the rule of the Lamas. Jesus attracted many followers, challenged the authority of the religious leaders of the time, and preached the message of the kingdom of God, something Caiaphas might have seen as a disruptive threat to the established order. This became even more evident as Jesus' influence grew, forcing Caiaphas and the Sanhedrin Council to take action to protect their interests. In the Gospel of Mark, chapter 14, verse 21, Jesus foretold the betrayal. The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man who betrays him. It would be better for him if he had not been born. This is a stern warning about the catastrophic consequences that traitors will have to bear. However, the motives and complex factors behind this act of betrayal hold deeper, more profound layers of meaning. Although the teachings and actions of Jesus made the religious leaders, especially Caiaphas, feel uneasy and stirred public controversy. But they had never once met him in person. This made recognizing the Lord exceedingly difficult. To achieve their goal, they needed an insider, someone close to Jesus who could recognize him. Judas Iscariot, one of Jesus' closest disciples, was a man burdened with many personal flaws, especially the insatiable greed for money. Additionally, Judas was influenced by a common misconception about the Messiah. He will become a brilliant general, establishing Rome's dominion. I am the way, the truth, and the life. When Caiaphas and the religious leaders sought to arrest Jesus, Judas felt disillusioned because the revolution he expected did not materialize. Mong Doi was driven by greed and backward thinking. To receive 30 pieces of silver, Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss, an act used as a signal to identify him among the disciples. That very kiss began the arrest of the Lord, leading him to the house of the high priest Caiaphas, the site where an event took place that changed the course of human history, rather than following the usual procedure involving Jesus in the temple prison. Caiaphas decided to hold a private meeting right at his residence, bypassing the usual formalities. Here, the pivotal events leading to the Passion of Jesus Christ began, marking a sorrowful yet profoundly significant chapter in the history of God. Judas's betrayal was not merely a simple act, but also an unusual version of betrayal from Caiaphas. This passage not only symbolizes the struggle between good and evil but also reflects the contrast between God's will and human limitations. The arrest and trial of Jesus under the authority of the high priest Caiaphas violated many legal rules and religious customs of the time. Not following the traditional procedure typically applied to cases like Varro or Jean. According to Acts chapter 4, verses 5 to 17, Jesus was taken directly to the private residence of the high priest Caiaphas. An extremely unusual act, especially when considering the sacred significance of the Passover night and its notable rituals. 1. Trial period. It's rare for a trial to be held on Passover night, because this is the time when priests and religious figures usually dedicate to their families and sacred rituals. The trial of Caiaphas and the religious leaders held overnight clearly revealed its hastiness, while also showing the intent to swiftly close the case. The court session will be held at Caiaphas' mansion, though grand and magnificent, could hardly accommodate all 71 members of the council. The minimum number required for a court session to officially proceed. Moreover, hosting the event at a private home will create a more intimate and cozy atmosphere compared to venues like meeting rooms, conference halls, or communal houses. This is a blatant breach of protocol, further highlighting the secretive and opaque nature of the case. 3. The first question is for priest Anne. According to the Gospel of John, chapter 18, verses 13 to 24. Jesus was first taken to Annas, the father-in-law of Caiaphas the high priest. He was a high priest of profound and far-reaching influence. After a brief interrogation, he was transferred to Caiaphas to face further charges. This reflects a complex network of power relations within the top leadership. Anne serves as an advisor in important decisions. Though holding the position of high priest, Caiaphas had no authority to decide Jesus' fate on his own. This decision still needs to be approved by the entire court of public opinion, a council comprising the most powerful high-ranking leaders. However, some members of the tribunal were absent during this hearing. Perhaps due to its sudden and secretive nature, this decision lacks legal clarity. These events show that Caiaphas acted urgently and comprehensively in handling the case involving Jesus. The trial took place secretly at night, bypassing standard procedures. The passage was designed quickly and effectively so that Jesus could expand his influence. This not only violates the pricing principle. When facing the power radiating from the message of Jesus, we are facing a challenging and difficult situation. If the court of public opinion does not approve this plan, you may need to seek assistance from the Mahakama authorities. This is something the public court often avoids because they prefer to handle internal matters themselves. However, the accusations against Jesus, such as the charge of causing a disturbance in the temple, or utter words deemed offensive to God, is not serious enough to catch the authorities. According to Mr. Mark Fuck, the hearing did not go as Caiaphas had expected. The witnesses gave statements but did not mention the bar. One person speaks up, and we all hear his words clearly. I will destroy this shrine, for it was built by human hands. And in 3 days, another temple will be raised, not made by human hands. These remarks may be controversial, but they don't rise to the level of defamation. Many prophecies in the Hebrew Bible have been fulfilled. The Jerusalem temple has also been mentioned with similar accounts regarding its collapse. When the accusations proved ineffective, Caiaphas swiftly changed tactics, directly confronting Jesus. Are you the Messiah? Behold, you shall see a man seated atop the pinnacle of power, his head held high, touching the azure clouds. According to the Gospel of Mark, chapter 14, verse 62, there is a quotation from Psalm chapter 110, verse 1. And the scripture passage in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 13 to verse 14. These words, though profound within the context of Jewish religion, Caiaphas skillfully framed it in a way that made the Lama government perceive this as a political threat. From the perspective of Caiaphas and religious leaders, Jesus was seen as a threat because of his claims, especially when claiming to be the Messiah. The miracles he performed drew large crowds, making the contemporary religious system feel threatened. When he challenged their authority by living differently, not conforming to the traditional values they fiercely upheld, the people he associates with, including ancestors and the outcasts, the lack of respect for religious traditions is shown by breaking rules that are considered sacred. Because Jesus claimed to be the Messiah, implying that His authority surpasses that of the religious leaders, shaking their status and power. Leaders like Parisi and Caiaphas could never accept such a thing. In the area from Bridge 48 to Bridge 49 of the school, they wondered if any leaders or Parisians were truly concerned. Yet these apostles understand nothing of the law, how utterly cursed they are. The religious leaders during the time of Lord Messiah despised the people's faith, seeing it as a sign of ignorance. However, Jesus was drawing greater and greater attention from the people. They clearly revealed their envy and deep-seated hatred within. This envy stems from the threat posed by Jesus' teachings. That very thing caused their status and influence in the community to fade. They want to eliminate you precisely for this reason. Jesus performed many miracles to guide people, including becoming someone who is blind, mute and deaf, and possessed by a demon. Those miracles made people wonder, could this truly be the son of King David? Welcoming the Messiah, the book of Matthew, chapter 12, verse 23. Instead of accepting the power of Jesus, the religious leaders accused him of wielding the power of Satan, the prince of demons, as in Matthew chapter 12, verse 24. Instead of believing that Jesus is the promised Messiah, they officially stated that he does this by the power of the devil. Jesus also became a significant threat to the religious system of that time. He exposed the hypocrisy in their behavior, and drove out the money changers, slaughtering the livestock. He grew furious at those who turned sacred places into markets. Do not make my Father's house a house of trade. These actions not only embarrass religious leaders. In the political context of that time, the leaders' motives of religious hatred grew even stronger. During the reign of Lama, the Jewish leader Caiaphas, who was regarded as the Messiah, steeped in military spirit, one will lead them to rise against oppression. However, the teachings of Jesus were completely contrary to such expectations. He taught about love and peace, not about inciting armed rebellion. This not only causes public confusion but also makes religious leaders worry that you could cause disruption and draw the Lama's attention, thereby threatening their position. When Jesus declared himself as the Messiah, he proclaimed a spiritual kingdom. The difference between people's expectations and the message of peace that Jesus brought. Their concerns extend beyond just the religious sphere, reaching into political ramifications as well. Under the growing influence of Jesus Christ, fears of retaliatory actions from the Lama also increased. And the disruption of social order made them determined to remove you. Religious leaders steadfastly adhered to the legal system and preserved traditional values, especially the observance of the Sabbath. However, Jesus was willing to disregard the rules if they conflicted with God's morality. In Mark chapter 3, verses 4 to 5, Jesus healed a man on the Sabbath. Place compassion and assistance above rigid adherence to man-made rules. This action infuriated the leaders, because it directly challenges the power and traditional values they uphold. Moreover, Jesus declared that he would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. According to the Gospel of John, chapter 2, verses 19 to 22, there is a highly symbolic statement. But it was misunderstood as an insult. The village communal house is not only a cultural and spiritual symbol but also a representation of the authority of its leaders. This statement is like a heavy blow to their reputation and influence. Strengthened their resolve to eliminate Jesus. At that time, the relationship between the Jewish people and the Roman authorities was extremely tense. Jesus has a profound influence and a message about the kingdom of heaven. Seen as a threat, posing a serious danger to the already fragile political order. Though not directly calling for an uprising, his songs deeply resonated with the people. Religious leaders have expressed concerns about the risk of causing instability in Rome. They fell into a disadvantageous position. After Jesus acknowledged that he was the Messiah during the interrogation at the house of the high priest Caiaphas, the high priest and the religious leaders hastily brought him before Governor Pilate. The Roman governor requested his faction to approve the death sentence, because only the Roman authorities had the power to carry out executions. Caiaphas was compelled to seek Pilate's cooperation. He called himself the man seated at the right hand of the power. Caiaphas used those words as a declaration of war, challenging the authority of the Roman Empire. One detail was enough to make Pilate believe that Jesus would still be executed. Jesus' actions and message went beyond merely challenging the religious authorities of the time. Not only that, but it also undermines political fairness, creates discord, and erodes long-standing, cherished traditions. They sped everything up to quickly reach the crucifixion scene. A punishment not only inflicts physical pain but also makes the sufferer feel utterly humiliated. To fully realize his influence, after Jesus was crucified and experienced the miraculous event of resurrection, Lan Rong, Caiaphas, and other religious leaders attempted to prevent the spread of information about the incident. The chief priests and elders bribed the guards, instructing them to spread the rumor that the disciples of Jesus came secretly in the dead of night while everyone was fast asleep. This farewell affirms the truth, looking toward resurrection, and prevent the spread of faith in Jesus within the community. According to historical records, Caiaphas was ultimately removed from the position of high priest. Lucius Philalius, the elder and governor of Judea, was the one who ordered his removal from power. Although there are no specific records of the exact reason, the cause may stem from the political and religious upheavals of that time. After being removed from office, Caiaphas seemed to vanish completely from historical records. His later life remains an unsolved mystery. In Dante Alighieri's Inferno Caiaphas is punished with a horrific torment in hell. He was locked in a solitary confinement area reserved for those who feigned blindness. Caiaphas lay there on the ground, like a path for other souls to tread upon, trampling over him endlessly. A symbolic punishment, reflecting his role in the trial of Jesus.